that it then? Just 2 each?
Aye, that'll do to be going on with. How much, love?
Well, it depends what you're paying for. Just the 2 or all 4?
I might as well pay for them off, then.
All right, then. Give us that £1 note. I'll see if I can find you any change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fairclough.
All right, you get the grub later on, dinner time, eh?
Hey, just watch him, Terry, or he'll be on winning side.
I know.
By the heck, you don't look very far, do you?
Oh, stop grumbling. Mrs. Sharples is waiting.
Hey, don't mind me. I'm just fascinated watching folks buy a nail first thing at morning.
Ah, just step forward, Mrs. Sharple.
Now, there's plenty of them around in the wrong direction, and that's one of them.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Sharples. This country's behind the times as it is.
Are we? And this is the one way of bringing it up to date by boosting all ours God sends.
It's good enough for a lot of countries, Mrs. Sharples.
So it must be good enough for us. Listen, time was when we was leading land, and the world was a better place, and by heck, so was this country.
Ah, get off your soapbox, Mrs. Sharples. I've been in countries all over the world where they sell booze 24 hours a day. I never saw any more drunkenness there than I do here.
No, you were too pie-eyed to notice, that's why.
She's got a point there. You could be right, you know.
Now, what can I get you, Mrs. Sharples? A couple of bottles of milk stout?
No, you can't.
The state of your hair falls out if you take too much of that, you know. Morning.
Morning.
Go on, you can serve her. She's forever pushed.
Are you sure, Mrs. Sharples?
Oh, go on before I change my mind.
Has it come in yet? Me marijuana. What? Me marijuana. You know, that old Chinese sailor man usually brings it in.
What's she on about?
She's kidding you.
Well, if you're going to give up your term, Mrs. Sharples, you want to hear something scandalous, don't you? Tell him me usual, please, love. I'm sorry it's not more worthwhile and more scandalous than that.
My pleasure.
I'm sorry to hear about your sidekick leaving home. I see the house is up for sale.
I know that means now. I'm never surprised at anything she does.
You'll be lonely, though.
Oh, there's that about it. She was somebody to talk to. So, if you're ever coming into the Rovers and like to buy me a drink, there'll always be a seat for you in snug.
Oh, Mrs. Sharples, I'm afraid I'm far too young to sit in there.
Don't worry, love. Nobody'll notice.
You know, you ought to pay to see us. We're the best double act since Revlin and West. My
not
God,
flicking you back
that
a
puts
minute,
some years on me.
Morning. Hey, do you get danger money for working in this place?
Get off, you cheeky devil.
Hey.
Excuse me, is Mr. What's his name?
Baldwin.
Is Mr. Baldwin here yet?
No, he won't be long.
Oh, I hope not. I've got an hair appointment.
Well, you'll just have to work out which is more important, won't you? Your hair or your job?
Oh, I know which is more important, love. I mean, getting a job won't get me a fella, will it? Oh, I don't know, though.
He won't be long.
Let's go.
Oh, stay where you are. It's a bit of fun. There's nothing else to do.
Oh, do come in, both of you, and sit down. Sherry. Oh, well, it's a bit early in the day for me, Mrs. Walker.
Not for me, it isn't.
Good. Can't attempt you, Elizabeth. Oh, well, go on then. Good. Thank you. Well, then, cheers.
Cheers.
Now, as you know, every now and then the Prime Minister has to address the country on the state of the nation. And in just the same way, I now have to address you on the state of the Rovers' return. Now, as you know, there has been a severe economic crisis.
It's about our wages, Mrs. Walker.
How very astute of you, dear. Yes, it is.
There's been a lot about it in papers.
Yes, hasn't there? Yes. Well, the country really is in dire straits. And this terrible state of affairs, it doesn't just affect your British Leylands and your Rolls Royces. Oh, no. It affects the Rovers' returns, too. Now, you see, on the one hand, we have Roy Hattersley watching prices. On the other hand, we have Jack Jones giving everybody a pay rise, whether the employer can pay it or not. And in between, we have the man in the street who thinks that anybody who is running a pub is worth a fortune, which, of course, is far from the truth.
Yeah. What is the pay rise, Mrs. Walker? £4 a week, is it?
Ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, don't misunderstand me. I could afford to pay the £4 a week if there was just one of you. But, you see, we have Michael Foote telling everybody to employ as many people as possible. Sometimes, I must tell you, I feel like Alice in Wonderland. Anyhow, to get down to business, I want to keep the two of you. But if I do, it does mean that I must cut your salary by £2 a week as from next Monday.
A cut?
Nothing else for it, dear, unless we take a leaf out of the Book of Solomon.
Oh, what's he got to do with it?
Pardon, dear?
Solomon? You mean him with pot stall at market?
Oh, no, dear, no. King Solomon of biblical fame.
Oh.
Well, I know this has got to sink in. I know you have a great deal to think about. So, shall we get back to work? And don't hesitate to come and have a word with me. Remember Solomon in all his wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker.
Ladies, I'm sorry you're being kept waiting like this. It's most unlike Mr. Baldwin. I can only think of something quite unavoidable has held him up.
Like not being able to get out of bed.
No, I meant something important.
All depends who he's in bed with.
Yeah, well, if I can just prevail on you to wait just a little longer, I'll do my best to get in touch with him.
And do we get paid for this waiting time?
Paid?
Yeah. You know, money.
Well, I thought you were all from the job centre. There's nobody here should be working, is there?
Oh, we could be doing something on the side.
We're not allowed to when you're on the dole.
I've heard about fellows like you. I never thought I'd meet one, though.
That could be Mr. Baldwin. Excuse me. Bishop. Ah, hello, Mr. Baldwin. Yeah, about a dozen of them. Well, they've been waiting since... Oh, I see, yeah, that is awkward, isn't it? Yeah, I quite see that. Me? Well, I've never done this kind of interviewing before. Right. Okay, fine. Yep. See you this afternoon, then. Right. Okay, goodbye. Thank you. Ladies, Mr. Baldwin's asked me to apologise. He won't be able to make it this morning. But he has asked me to stand in for him. So if I can just have the First Lady, please, we'll make a start.
Do you think you'll be able to manage us all on your own?
Come in.
Well, I've racked my brains. I can't think it out.
Me neither. All I can remember is your Brinner played him in picture, and I'm not even sure about that.
How about young Gail? Not 5 minutes since she left school.
Well, it's worth trying.
Come on.
Now, don't answer if you think it might incriminate you, love, but what do you know about Bible?
Bible? Nothing. I went to a progressive school. We didn't have religious instruction.
By gone, that sums the world up if out does.
You know about the Bible, don't you, Mrs. Sharples?
So.
If it were Harold Robbins, I wouldn't need to ask. I could quote chunks from Carpetbaggers.
I bet you could. What do you want to know, any road?
Well, it's like this. Shall we tell them?
Yeah, I may as well.
Annie Oakley in there's been taking a few pot shots at us. She wants us to take a drop in pay. Now, according to her, she don't want to sack one of us, which would be the easy way out. But she says we must think on about this Solomon fella and his wisdom.
Oh, I know about him.
Who's it to be then?
Go on, let's see what she's learnt at that progressive school of hers.
Well, there were these two women, and they were arguing over this baby because they both said it belonged to her. So they went to Solomon to ask him because he was supposed to be very wise.
This sounds right.
Any road, he said, cut the baby in two and have half each.
Oh, I remember now.
It's a lot more bloodthirsty than Harold Robbins.
Do you want me to tell you, or don't you?
Sorry, Joe.
Then Solomon said that one of the women said, OK, and the other said, no, don't do that. Give the baby to her. And Solomon said, no, I'll give it to you because you're obviously the real mother. That's right, isn't it, Mrs. Sharples?
Well, I wouldn't have said the language was exactly biblical, but it's near enough.
What does it mean, though?
I think I'm beginning to see, and I feel sick.
Yes, of course you can see. You can't both have good jobs, but you can have two rotten ones. Unless one of you thinks enough about the other to walk out and leave her to it.
You mean, she thinks that I'll give my job up so that you'll get your rise?
Oh, what's even funnier is she thinks I might do the same for you.
Hey, if you're looking for your Stanley, darling, he's not in here.
No, so I see. I just thought he might have popped in on his way home from work.
From where?
Work?
Yeah, that's what I thought you said, but when you applied to your Stanley, it doesn't seem to fit.
Can I have a pie and a light ale to take out, please?
Oh, heck, he's going to be hungry when he does get home. Yours, Stan. Only one pie.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, yeah, what am I thinking of? Make it 2 pies, please, and 2 light ales.
Let him starve. He's not worth bothering about. Get round to Inkerman Street. Get yourself a bit of spare.
That's an idea. Can I have some 2-penny pieces in my change?
He's talking about Inkerman Street. There's a young fella there been left with 3 kids. She just upped, walked out. 27, Hilda. Not 19. Now to do with yours, Dan.
That's what you want to do, Hilda. Leave him.
Yeah, give it a bash, Hilda. Everybody else is these days.
Knowing your Stan, I bet he won't notice for a week.
No, I don't suppose he would he? Thank you.
You know, I hate to say it, but I think she's coming to her senses.
Hello, here's another one with her husband on the rampage.
Pardon?
Tell her about that chorus line over
No, take no notice, Mrs. Bishop. Your husband's only doing a bit of interviewing, that's all.
Yeah, you want to see what he's interviewing, though?
Close the door, would you please?
Oh, that's dangerous.
Oh, it's you. Oh, come in, take a seat. Name?
Mary Stanton, Mrs. Divorced.
Oh, that gets rid of 3 questions in one, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought it might.
Past experience?
Oh,
In the garment trade.
you're fast. Well, I've had rather a lot, so I thought I'd write my jobs down.
Thanks. Hey, you have, haven't you? Why exactly?
Well, I could say it was to broaden me experience, or to better myself, or because I had to move a lot because of my husband. But it's none of them. Oh, I did have to move a lot because of my husband, but not with him. Away from him. Well, that's my trouble, you see, fellas. Weren't enough to sew a straight seam or put a button on so it didn't come off first time you fastened it. You had to give other services and all. You know what I mean. Well, that's the penalty of being attractive. Because you think I'm attractive, don't you? Oh, say so if you don't. No skin off my nose.
I do. I think you're very attractive.
Well, let me tell you something. For every good-looking working-class girl as marries a millionaire, there's 1,000 of us fighting off no goods in grotty little factories. And if you say no, you're out. This isn't going to be another one, is it?
No. Experience? Wide. How's that?
Just about sums it up.
Oh, hello. I wonder if you could help me. I'm ringing Weatherfield 4261. Only when it makes the noise where you put your money in, I put the money in like it says, but it goes on making the noise. I've done it 3 times so far. Well, it's hardly a case of being reconnected, is it? I haven't been connected at all yet. No, you see, I'm trying to ring the hospital, Weatherfield General, to make inquiries about my husband. Oh, would you? Oh, I'd be very grateful. And I have put 3 tuppences in already, honest. Oh, thank you. Oh, hello. Could I have the part where they bring in the accident cases and such like? Oh, you can? Oh, well, it's about a Mr. Stanley Ogden. Yes, I was wondering if he'd been brought in. Oh, well, any time since yesterday dinner. Oh, he hasn't. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
That it then?
Yeah, I think so. We'll let you know.
It's my personality that lets me down, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it lets you down exactly. It doesn't help.
No, never did. I had a boyfriend once who said I was too overpowering. For him, I got divorced over. And when the divorce came through, he upped it. Must have been too overpowering for him and all. Still, I think I'm all right with you.
In what way?
Oh, don't worry, your wife's safe. No, I meant as far as the job's concerned. Because I think you'd like to turn me down because of my overpowering personality. But I don't think you will. Because there's only one thing that worries you. And that's whether or not I can do the job all right. I'm right, aren't I?
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Would you ask the next girl to come in, please?
See you.
Bye. on earth are you doing here?
What are the rest of them doing here?
You mean you're here after a job?
Oh, not just me. You may not realise it, but you are looking at two of us. Me and Betty Turpin. We're both after jobs.
Really?
Really. Only I jumped the gun because I said I was a friend of yours. Which I am, I hope.
Rena Bradshaw may have got her licence, but she has a very poor idea of stocks. She carries a very poor selection.
Yeah, well, a bottle of ale's cheaper than yours.
Beg your pardon, Mr. Tetlock?
I said a bottle of ale is cheaper than yours.
Price isn't the only criterion, you know, Mr. Tetlock. There are others.
Like what?
Like the quality of the service, for instance.
Quality of what service?
The quality of the service you get here.
And what quality of service do I get?
Well, if you don't know, Mr. Tetlock, I am certainly not going to tell you.
Hey, do you know about the quality of service we're getting here?
Now, Albert.
Never mind the now, Albert. Do you or don't you?
You know, sometimes I wonder why it took us so damn long to win the First World War.
Oh, look at her. She's better like that. She can't get any worse. Go on.
Mrs. Walker.
What is it, Elizabeth?
Could I have a word with you? Well, it's just to say that, well, you don't need to cut our wages.
Oh, good. Yeah. My little Song of Solomon didn't fall on stony ground then.
Oh, no, we took it very much to heart, Mrs. Walker.
Good. Well, as you know, I don't want to lose either of you, but which is it going to be?
Oh, well, actually, we went a little bit farther, you know, than this Solomon fella. We're both going.
You're both going?
Yeah, we're in line for jobs across road at factory and a Bishopsgate. Our name's down.
I see.
We'd be available for work at nights, of course, if you wanted us.
Well, I must say this is quite unexpected.
Yes, so is what you said.
Come home, Stan.
Oh, well, let's just see if I've got the name and address down right. Teresa Meakin, right, 43 Atlee House, Victoria Precinct.
That's right.
Fine.
It's my mother's flat.
I see.
I look after her, you see. There's only a pension coming in and my unemployment.
Well, we'll let you know. Mr. Baldwin will have to make the final decision, of course.
All right, thank you.
Goodbye. Oh, would you ask the next lady to come in, please?
Oh, I think I was the last.
Ah.
Yes, there's nobody else there.
Well, goodbye then.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bill. Come in. Oh, Mrs. Walker.
Hope you don't mind me bearding you in your dinner.
Of course not. Come in, come in. What is it, a social call?
Not entirely, no. May I sit down?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry we're so cheerless.
Rather suits what I've got to say.
Oh?
I've had some rather disquieting news today.
Yeah?
Now, I think we've known one another long enough to be frank, haven't we?
I'm sure we have.
Well, then I'll get straight to the point. I understand that you have offered Bet Lynch and Mrs. Turpin jobs here.
Not quite, Mrs. Walker. No, they are up for consideration.
Well, that's different, isn't it? Of course, they were far more positive. But then they would be, wouldn't they? That makes it much easier.
Sorry, Mrs. Walker.
I don't want you to employ them. At least, not both of them. Now, I don't want to go into the question of professional ethics or poaching staff or anything like that. I'd much rather that we treated it on the basis of friendship.
Yes, and I don't think the question of poaching comes into it, Mrs. Walker. I didn't approach them. They came to me.
Be that as it may, I'd prefer it that you only employed one of them. And I would like to ask it as a favour between friends.
I'm sorry, I can't do that, Mrs. Walker. I told Bet Lynch I'd make a decision whether or not to recommend them both to Mr. Baldwin, and that's what'll happen.
In spite of the fact that I'm asking you as a personal favour?
I wish you wouldn't see it like that, Mrs. Walker.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bishop, but there's no other way I can possibly see it. And don't imagine for one moment that the matter is closed.
Bishop. Oh, hello. Oh, fine. Except that war's just been declared again.
We've more drama next here on Granada Plus. Plus, an ugly confrontation for good measure when Anton threatens to tell Barbara where Corinne is staying, in Families.
What message? Same as yesterday, actually. If Mr. Ogden doesn't come and clean our windows today, Corporation will be knocking us down thinking we're derelict property.
Look, I've told her, I'll tell him.
Yeah, but will he come?
How should I know?
You are his wife, Mrs. Ogden. You should know all about his activities and movements. That's a wife's job. Stops him getting into trouble like men do. Because they're not like us, are they? They never grow up, for one thing. Seem all that interested, if you ask me. I doubt she'll even pass the message on.
Well, if she doesn't pass the message on, we'll just have to get a new window cleaner, won't we? 20 coffin nails, please, love.
Are there any more window cleaners round here?
Oh, no, there aren't. I checked when I came here. When I'd seen Stanley operate, but there's not a chamois to be hired anywhere.
In that case, we are in Stanley's power.
I'd much rather be in Roger Moore's.
Packet of mints. Of course, I'll see her. You could do your own windows.
Oh, don't worry, kid. I'll bet you'll be doing them, not me.
Not likely. I'm having to do any hard physical work on account of this terrible illness I had when I was a baby.
What illness?
Well, I don't exactly know, but I was a very weak child. My mother had to keep me in a warm oven for the first 6 months.
Go on, get off with you.
Hello.
Off to what you laughingly call work, are you, love?
Yes, love, but we'll be finished by the time you've emptied the slops. Ta-ta.
Common as muck.
I don't know how we talk to him.
No, 10 with spats on cock.
Do you know, I must have sold 200 of these this morning. All to women.
I know, we're picking up old fellas' bad habits. Supping, smoking, gambling, swinging lead. And I mean, we've been toying with sex ever since Jane Russell opened our eyes into the outlaw.
You speak for yourself. Oh, but honestly, Bet, I don't know how you've put up with Annie all this time. I mean, 5 minutes of her in here, and my nerves are twanging like your knicker elastic.
Now, you know I were briefed.
Of course you do. But honestly, though, she was in here, well, yesterday, I think it was, ostensibly to buy a packet of cream crackers, but really to cast a jaundiced eye over my stock. I'll swing for it.
Well, actually, Reenie, my employment with Annie Walker's on its last legs.
Well, you do surprise me.
Me and Betty Turpin both.
Well, have you got something else lined up?
Across at the warehouse.
You mean you've got jobs there?
Well, a nod's as good as a wink, isn't it? Especially when it's from Ernie Bishop.
I wouldn't say that, Mr. Baldwin. Machinists don't grow on trees. Well, they don't round here anyway. No, I've interviewed, 25 women and girls, and of them 3, at the very most, have had the necessary experience. Well, in my book, anyway. Yeah, sure, I'll go on trying. There's no lack of applicants. It's a matter of getting the right material. I mean, we want people who can tell the difference between a buttoning machine and a lawnmower, don't we?
I can feel her looking at me. I can't let her look.
She's never said a civil word to me since yesterday.
Nor me.
Well, I can't work in an atmosphere like this.
Well, it won't be for much longer, Betty. As soon as Ernie gives us a thumbs up, we'll slap our notice in official like.
But are you sure he's going to give us a thumbs up?
Of course, I'm sure.
Wish I was. I wonder if I could prevail on one of you ladies to bring me some light ales up from the cellar.
Prevail on us? 1 minute she's cutting our wages, next minute she's prevailing on us. I'll be glad when we're working for somebody who's not got more faces than an onion's got skins. I'll get them, Mrs. Walker.
Are we running short of drimmets?
Well, we haven't got many left.
Oh. Well, remind me to order some, will you, dear?
Yes.
Oh, how silly of me. You won't be here to remind me, will you?
Doesn't look like it.
Elizabeth?
Yes?
Are you quite sure that you'll be happy across there? In what, after all, is, well, a sort of factory? At your time of life?
Well, I've no choice, have I?
You see, Bet is a different cup of tea. I mean, she's young enough to make the change, and she has had some experience.
Are you trying to say something, Mrs. Walker?
Well, it's just, dear, that if Bet goes, I've solved my economic problem, haven't I? No need for you to go, dear.
1 crate of light tails.
Oh, thank you. Put some on the shelf, will you?
Aye, but she's not been getting at you, has she, behind my back?
No, of course not.
How about?
Yeah?
Well, I mean, he's not likely to be poised on a cliff top somewhere, shredding a rose and muttering, she loves me not.
I doubt it now.
Yeah, well, don't say I didn't try. I'll send an officer in to take his name and that, and I'll tell the lads to keep their eyes open. Well, that's about as much as we can do, I'm afraid. I mean, we can't alert Interpol over a missing 54-year-old self-employed window cleaner. I mean, they're looking for bank robbers and international terrorists. Not with all that much success either. Something does spring to mind, Mrs.
Mrs. Ogden.
Cherchez la femme, as our common market cousins say.
Huh?
Another woman, love. Could somebody else be warming his slippers for him? It happens. Well, there again, not often to 54-year-old self-employed window cleaners.
Another woman.
Hey! Aren't you?
Morning.
You're not after that flaming husband of yours again, are you?
Oh, no, I was just passing.
Well, it's more sensible to come round here, because if I as much as catch a smell of him, I'll pulverise him. His calling days at number 19 are over. You tell him that.
All right, Mrs. Parker, we'll be in touch when we're actually taking on staff, all right? Goodbye. Hello, love. What brings you here?
Still in the throes, I see.
Throws?
Interviewing.
Oh, yes. It's not as easy as you might think.
Are they all like that?
Done?
The women you're interviewing, are they all like the one that just left?
How do you mean?
Well, young and rather...
Ah, no. I wish they were. No, I've had all sorts. I've had tall, thin, fat, long, short. You know, women come in a great variety of sizes. More so than men, I often think.
Yes, I suppose we do.
In fact,
Yes.
I have had Bet Lynch and Betty Turpin here.
Here? After a job?
Yes.
Have you given them one?
No.
Why?
Well, Betty is totally unsuitable. She's had no experience in the trade at all. And I can hardly offer Bet a job if I turn Betty down. I can't. I think of the trouble that would cause.
Hey, what's she got to say to Gail? It could be private.
Search me.
Unless she's after another trouser suit cheap.
No, I don't think even Mrs. Walker's got cheek enough to go buying new clothes when she reckons she's too poor to keep us doing work.
As you know.
Are you to a couple of stone statues or something?
Oh, sorry, Mrs. Sharples. Yes, lovely.
A milk stout.
Right.
Are you in a drink?
If you please.
Well, I wouldn't be asking if I wasn't.
Right, I've half a mug.
He's in a very funny mood.
When's he not?
Yeah. He got a little tiny bottle of rum from the corner shop because it's a bit cheaper from there, you know. And then he came in here and tried to drink it. Well, her ladyship went mad.
So he's soaking. Hey dear, no wonder folk get fed up with the old ones. They're like kids, you know. They do daft things, and when they're told about it, they pull their faces.
You don't get up to all them little tricks, do you, Mrs. Sharples?
I'm not old.
Don't.
There, and don't bother to say thank you.
Hey, our pubs places where folks can drink her, aren't they? Because any local are telling me they aren't.
Shut up, you daft crate egg, and sup your beer.
Right, hey, will you have a nip?
Hey?
In your stout.
Now you're talking.
Cheers.
Cheers. Now, this is how you should have gone about it in the first place.
Well, we'll leave it at that then, shall we, dear, for the moment?
Yeah, all right.
Very strange. Now, listen.
Mosey over and sort of casually and nonchalantly knock it out of Potter what that were all about.
Oh, you.
We both will.
That's what I like to see, psychic barmaids. Can I have another gin in there, please, to see me through the afternoon? And I'll have a pint for Alf and a glass of lemonade for Dizzy Lizzie here.
It's all right. I'm not dependent on alcohol for my vital and vivid personality.
Ooh, you will be, won't she, Alf?
I never had any vital or whatever personality. I don't think I had any personality at all.
You get them, will you, Betty?
Gail?
Yeah.
Mrs. Walker's not been buying out new at your shop, has she?
Can I get a chance to find out?
No.
Thinking of doing, is she?
No.
No. Only I thought that was what you were talking about just now.
Wasn't.
It seemed very hush-hush.
No,
It was.
No boys big head.
Elsie, you can scrub my drink. I'll see you back at the shop. If I saunter past the council offices at this time, I just might accidentally bump into this gorgeous fella.
Chance would be a fine thing.
Oh,
You didn't get very far there, did you?
You reckon you could have done any better?
Could have done worse.
Only workers served here.
Just here, I'll book and give us a couple of pints, love. What are you, darling?
Oh, no, nothing, thanks, Sam. I only want a bottle to take out for my dinner, you know.
Be with you in a minute, love.
Not in any hurry.
It could come to that, you know. Having to show your union card before you can get a drink.
I won't be surprised where things are going.
I don't know what they're frightened of, you know. I mean, the bosses stopped bossing years ago.
It's all to do with power, Len. Power. It's not to do with capitalism or Marxism or any of them underisms. Them's just different names for power. Who gets the official cars and the coppers salute. One thing it's got nought to do with the real needs of the people, they and me.
You know, that's the longest speech I've ever heard you say.
Oh, I can be very articulate when I'm roused, and politics is one thing what rouses me. Politics is too important to be left to the politicians, mate, whatever breed they are, in Parliament or out of it.
2 pints, Len. Tart. Now, what were it, Hilda?
Just a light out to take out, please.
Right.
Have you managed to get a message to your husband yet?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Well, I haven't seen him, have you?
Haven't you?
No, I haven't. And another day you won't be able to see the curtains through my windows.
How does he do it, Hilda?
What?
Well, run a window cleaning business without actually cleaning any windows. And he's cracked it, hasn't he? He don't need to change base metal into gold or even run a bingo hall.
He does clean windows.
Not many, love.
And he managed to booze himself to death every day and all.
And where is he now? With the flying off?
I've heard he started using cocktail bar at Midland.
And Hilda's all dressed up to go with him.
What I would like to know is where Mrs. Ogden was this morning.
Well, you weren't doing your work properly here, love.
Hilda. Hilda, come along, dear. I'm sorry. I didn't know you. Come along. What am I going to do, Mrs. Walker? You're going to have a cup of tea and calm yourself.
He's gone for good, I know he has.
Now, Hilda, please.
Well, he must have done. I mean, why else?
Now, why should you think that, Hilda? I mean, Mr. Ogden, if he's nothing else, is a home bird. If not in the geographical sense, then in the domestic. Hilda.
Oh, we had a big row. Harsh words was exchanged, especially by me, and... Oh, but I'd cut my tongue out, Mrs. Walker, if it'd only bring him back, I would, honest.
How long has he been gone?
3 days.
You haven't heard anything?
No, not a word.
Well, have you checked the places he might have gone to, dear? Your Travers, for instance.
Oh, he wouldn't have gone there. They're away on holiday in Madeira.
Madeira? Really? Has he any other friends, relatives?
Well, none as I know of.
I suppose he could have been taken ill or had an accident.
Well, I rung the infirmary, and this morning I went down to the police.
Well, there you are. They'll find him in a jiffy.
I don't think so. They didn't hold out much hope. Like they said, it's a free country and he's a grown fella. He can go anywhere he chooses.
Well, I must say, I think that's a very cavalier attitude to take. Now, you drink your tea, dear, and I'll get on to the police. I have friends in high places. Anne Walker of the Rovers Return, Coronation Street. Could I speak to the Chief Constable, please? You don't have a Chief Constable anymore? Well, I must say, I think that's a retrograde step. Really, I do think the public should have been informed.
She's ringing Chief Constable.
We don't have one.
They told her that.
What does Hilda want with the Chief Constable?
Stan could be a jug.
Well, there's been no police round here. We'd have seen them.
What's the latest?
Well, Mrs. Walker's ringing the police.
He'll be in trouble, down to a penny.
Well, Alf thinks we would have heard. You're right, Albert.
I never felt better.
Got a funny look on your face.
You're getting boiled.
What, on a nip of rum?
A couple of tots more like, and anybody'll think it's on our field.
I don't care.
I see. Well, all I can say is it seems a very poor return for all my rates and taxes if the police cannot stir themselves to find a poor, distraught woman's husband, who's probably equally distraught himself. If you ask me, you spend far too much time hounding motorists.
What do they say?
They're looking into it, dear. I insisted that they should.
That's what they told me this morning.
Well, the police are rather overstretched these days.
Oh, I think he's gone for good, Mrs. Walker. I bet I never set eyes on him again.
So then, girls.
Right, try look.
And you'll be standing by those pumps at 5:30 because I shall return.
The BBC set the clocks by you, Leonard.
Hey, I won't be surprised.
Ta-ra, love. Ta-ra. Do you know, you could lose us a lot of custom behaving like this, Mrs. Turpin. I mean, we get a very sensitive class of folk round here.
worried.
You'll get those jobs over there. I'll stake my chastity on it.
You're not risking much, are you?
Hey, where you going, Hilda? Still.
I'm not going to see her. I'm going to see Ernie Bishop.
I've seen him, haven't I?
Oh.
Caught you, Albert Tatlock. I knew you were up to something. If Mrs. Walker...
Well, I've kept telling him, but he's not far off being a dipsomaniac. Oh, dear.
Look who's talking. And she's shot more than half a bottle herself.
Mrs. Sharples.
Only to keep him company.
Come on.
You're wasting your time.
We'll see.
Talk with her.
Well, it's a long story, Mrs. Sharples, but if you've any of that corner shop rum left, I'll tell it you while I help you to sup it.
I don't want to hear your story.
Well, you'll have to, won't you? Or I'll blab to Mrs. Walker. Well?
Go on, get a glass.
That's better.
Wipe that daft smile off your face.
Have you looked in the mirror lately?
Hello, Betty. What can I do for you? Come and sit down.
Oh, thank you. I hope you don't think I'm cheeky, but, well, I know Bet's been over here and what he said to her and all that, but, I was wondering if you could be a bit more sort of definite.
About jobs?
Well, yes, you see. I mean, if we hand in our notice over there, and then we don't, well, I mean, we'll be in Dickie's meadow, won't we?
Look, Betty, I'm not going to beat about the bush. Not with you and Bet. I've told enough little white lies in the last 2 days. You'll be hearing from us, Mrs. Brown. We'll be in touch, Mrs. Smith. Knowing perfectly well we'll be doing nothing of the sort.
Ah, not very nice, is it? You know, I mean, raising people's hopes.
No, it isn't, Betty. That's why I'm not going to raise yours. There is very little chance of you getting a job here. You just haven't had the experience, love.
What about Bet?
No.
Well, she's had experience.
Yeah, but not as much as some of the applicants. There's a lot of competition for jobs these days, you know.
I see. Oh, well, thanks for being straight with me, Annie.
It's the least I could do. I'm sorry, I really am.
Well, I mean, it's not as if we've chucked the jobs up at the Rovers, but, oh, the atmosphere. Not very nice.
I can imagine. Mrs. Walker's already paid me a little visit.
Has she? Why?
Didn't like the idea of me giving her staff jobs.
The old... Wait till I tell Bet. Oh, the old... Oh!
Now, you're not to worry yourself, Mrs. Ogden, understood?
Do my best, Mrs. Walker.
Mr. Ogden will be back as sure as God made little apples.
Yeah.
Oh, just a minute. Now, put a drop of that in your tea if you're feeling very low.
Thanks very much, Mrs. Walker. You've been very kind. I'm sorry I made an exhibition of myself.
Think nothing of it.
What's going on at the Ogden's, Annie Walker?
Oh, nothing to trouble you with, Mrs. Sharples. Just something they'd rather have kept in the family. And with an understanding friend, of course.
Well, I reckon he's been making a fool of himself in Corporation Park. He's at a very funny age, is Stanley.
Like this one here.
What are you going to do with him?
Leave him here if he don't wake up.
Well, you can for me, love.
Hey, Bet, here.
What's up?
We're not going to get a job over there, you know. Never in a month of Sundays.
Who says?
Ernie Bishop. I've no experience and you've not got enough.
Well, what's he talking about? I mean, I worked in
That's what he says. That's not all. Madam's been over there trying to queer our pitch.
How?
Tell him not to poach her staff. The old bat. That's what I said. Well, nearly.
Right, come on.
Hey, where?
Have it out with her.
Now, hang on. We've no jobs to go to, you know.
That's true.
Oh, there you are, Elizabeth. I wondered where you disappeared to.
Yeah.
Still, I suppose now you're leaving, we can expect a certain lowering of standards. One of the things that's wrong with the country today. Excuse me. I'm going shopping. You will close up for me, will you?
Well, we've not definitely said we're going, Mrs. Walker.
No, we've not handed our notices in or out like that.
Oh, but it's implicit, really, isn't it? In any case, I'm sorry, but I have started to make alternative staffing arrangements.
Like what?
Well, like Gail coming in the evenings. Seems very keen. You will show her the ropes, I know.
Well, I'll be blowed.
Now I know what house feels like when we get subsidies. Hey, what about Albert?
He's still asleep.
Asleep?
Just come and have a look. You've got to laugh.
I feel like more like crying myself. Oh, no, I mean that. Oh, I never should have listened to you.
It's party time when Lisa tries to persuade Andrew to have a night out. Meanwhile, Sue tells Moira about John. Drama in Families next here on Granada Plus.